indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, our first order of business is administering the oath of office for our new board member. Mayor Kearns.
Thank you. Would you join me up front here? Andy Gottesman, welcome. I'll hold the Bible for you, and I want you to put your left hand on and raise your right hand. There you go. And repeat after me. I, Andy Gottesman,
I, Andy Gottesman,
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Charter and ordinances of the State,
the ordinance of the City of Grandview Heights,
and will faithfully, honestly, and impartially
will faithfully, honest, and impartially
discharge the duties as a member
discharge the duties as a member
of the Board of Zoning Appeals
of the Board of Zoning Appeals
for the City of Grandview Heights
for the City of Grandview Heights
in Franklin County, Ohio.
in Franklin County, Ohio.
Congratulations. Welcome. Thanks, everybody. This is down to you. You can just pass it back to the clerk.
All right, Megan, you want to call the roll?
Absolutely. Pedowski?
Present.
Kinzinger?
Here.
Calnell?
Here.
Stein?
Here.
Bassman? Here. Director Basheen?
Here.
Director Kelker?
Here.
Okay, and now we move on to election of board chairman and vice chairman. So,
Now we want to, a member can nominate someone for the board, another board member to be chairman.
so you're calling for nomination
Yes,
for chairman,
call for- yeah,
chairman
call for
first.
nomination for chairman.
I nominate Rick Kinzinger for chairman.
I'll second.
Okay. Any further nominations? Hearing no further nominations, I call for a motion to close nominations.
I move nominations for chairman be closed.
Is there a second?
Yes, second.
All in favor of closing nominations for chairman, say yay. Aye. Those opposed, say nay.
Yeah, okay.
And roll call for nominations. Donosky,
Yes.
Kinzinger,
Yes.
Calnell,
Yes.
Stein,
Yes.
Gottesman.
Yes.
The chairman is Rick Kinzinger. Call for nominations for vice chair.
I nominate Anna Cano for vice chair.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any further nominations? Okay, hearing no further nominations, I call for a motion to close nominations.
I move the nominations be closed.
Second.
All in favor of closing nominations for vice chair, say aye. Those opposed, say nay.
Aye.
And Kinzinger,
Yes.
Calnell,
Yes.
Donosky,
Yes.
and Gottesman.
Yes.
And the vice chair is Anna Calnell.
Rick, did they skip you?
No, I did vote for that.
Oh, I'm sorry, Stein.
Yes.
I apologize. And Stein.
Yes. We don't have minutes from the preceding meeting to approve today. So right now, anybody who is planning on speaking today, or even if you maybe just might speak, I'd ask you to, we're going to do administer the oath to tell the truth, so if you would just stand for a second. Raise your right hand. I swear to tell the truth,
We're gonna tell the truth.
the whole truth.
The whole truth.
Do we have any changes to the agenda for today? Any requests for postponements or?
The only postponement is BZA case 19-2021 that was updated prior to this meeting.
Yes. Okay. Well then, let's call case number 1, BZA case 17-2021, 1802 West 3rd Avenue, applicant Jeremiah and Leanne McCoy, owners Jeremiah and Leanne McCoy. The applicant is seeking an approval per Grand Rapids Planning and Zoning Code section 1155.15D for a fence in the side yard adjacent to a street or alley on a corner lot. Yeah, we have the applicant or somebody representing the applicant here.
I have.
I think they want to, yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Megan, will the information passed around be submitted into the public record?
Well, I guess I'm wondering, is there anything different than necessarily than what your application as you filled it out?
No,
Okay.
I just printed everything off so you had it in front of you. And there's a picture on the last page. It's not the actual fence, but that's what it's gonna look like.
Yep, okay. Yeah, if you can go ahead and tell us what we're looking at here.
Sure, we live at 1802 West 3rd Avenue, so we're a corner lot. There's no alley, behind us that would cause an issue with seeing around. It's gonna go, 42 inches high, horizontal, pressure treated wood. S&G fencing is going to be doing the work. There's 2 gates, by the garage. They're gonna be 4 feet in width. We live between 2 bars, one on Johnny's, one on the restaurant down the way, so it's kind of a busy area. So we just want to fence that in, a little more protection. We have kids and dogs, so that's why we want the fence. Other than that, pretty cut and dry.
Staff report?
Certainly. So the second page of the staff report, the neighborhood context page, provides you just a little bit more visual context of locating the site relative to its neighbors and the garages, the adjacent garages, the adjacent City of Columbus property to the north has a driveway that is adjacent to the rear fence. That just kind of helps you understand the context. There's a fence existing there between the rear yard and the neighboring side yard. And what I essentially did was consider it's in the City of Columbus, or apply the same logic to that property as we would for a Grand Heights property. Nothing significant really in terms of natural features. Would note to the applicant that we have a street tree program if you'd like to collaborate with the city to get some street trees in your tree lawns. I just noticed that there weren't any.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's see. And then with regard to the fence, we don't have any major concerns really at all. The material being wood is great. The height at 42 inches is below the 5 foot that is preferred by the guidelines. The location, side yard fences are reviewed by the board for impact to community character, as well as fences that are rear side yard bordering front yards are also reviewed before they impact that side yard property. We don't have any issues with visibility, with the height in that regard. And as I mentioned, the side yard fence being low like that is also in the spirit of good neighbor for side yard, a front yard adjacent to the side yard. The specific questions that we would have, that you may want to discuss, would include the specific setbacks to the property lines. I didn't see any information about that on your application. As well as a couple of adjacency items. One is with the existing fence that's on the north side and whether that would be a replacement or duplication. And then adjacency with the garage to the east. Just again, kind of looking for some of the areas that we've seen crop up with regard to vegetation that gets stuck between these small spaces and all of that. So other than that, we would recommend approval and it would be a handsome addition to the neighborhood.
We have notified the neighbors behind us who are actually considered Columbus, and our fence company has offered for a charge to remove their fence because it is kind of falling apart and they wanted to remove it anyways. I've not heard whether or not they're doing that. Other than that, there's some plants there that I'm going to take and move somewhere else. So getting back there and cleaning up, if they remove their fence, there won't be any problem with anything like that between the two fences. And 2 feet between the fences, I'll be able to get back there anyways if I need to get something. Other than that, there's the sidewalk, and then we have a tall bush line on the Glen side that we maintain, so the fence will be inside towards the house from that, so we won't be near that line.
All right, before we get to any of the board members' questions, I have to ask, even though I think I know the question, if there's no neighbors or anybody from the community here who would like to speak on this. Megan, we haven't gotten any emails.
I have not received any emails or public comment.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess any board member want to go first with this? Yeah.
I'll go. When you say 2 feet at the northern side of the lot,
Yes.
are you talking about 2 feet from the property line that you would start your fence?
They said it would be about 2 feet from their fence, so we'd be inside of that.
Okay. Do you know how far from the property line that would be?
Let's see if she in here. I'm sorry, I don't off the top of my head. I don't know if this is what they're talking about, but there's a marking at the top right that says 9 feet, or I'm sorry. No, you know what, she did not mark that. At least I don't see it on my copy. She did say that they need at least 2 feet from their fence, their current fence, to where they start their posts.
Okay.
But if the neighbor's fence comes out, is that going to change the location of your fence? Like if the neighbor agrees to have their fence removed, would yours then be 2 feet farther north?
We were not planning on moving it from where we decided to have it. So yeah, I mean, we might lose some footage there on our end, but because I haven't heard back from them and I don't know what their timeline is for moving that, we were just gonna go ahead with the current plan.
So you're gonna have a fence regardless of what the neighbors do?
Yes,
And then in the back?
Yeah, because it's really run down and it's falling apart, so this will.
So it sounds like it's in everyone's best interest that they remove their fence?
Yes, and I did speak with them even though they weren't on our list. And, you know, they're excited to have something new and they have some shrubbery back there, but they had told me when I first moved in that they wanted to do something with that and they would take it down, but that was like 3.5 years ago. So that's kind of why we're not waiting.
Okay, So it will be, your fence will be on your property line, it's just a question of where it is on your property.
Yes.
And then with the garage, I think you answered my question about the hedges, whether you guys were keeping those or not.
Yes.
I think that's good.
And it'll be inside, like towards our house, so you won't see the fence on the other side of those hedges.
And then with regards to the garage that's on the east of
Mhm.
you guys, where do you think that your fence will hit? Or what's the distance between the existing garage, that's your neighbors, and your fence?
Oh, okay, so it will be, right there, there's this big concrete line that separates our driveways, and it'll be in the inside of that, so they will have plenty of room. I would say they have at least like 6 feet from where our fence is gonna be to their garage.
Okay.
And then that wraps in, and then there'll be a gate on each side of our garage that are 4 feet in width.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
So you said on the west side, the hedges are staying?
Yes.
And the fence will be on the outside of the hedge, on the sidewalk side? of the-
No, it'll be on the inside.
Oh, the fence will be
Uh-huh,
on the house side?
yes.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
So there won't be any issues with like being past our property line or anything like that.
Okay. Sounds great. Yeah, often we would try to stipulate what that distance is, like from the sidewalk,
Oh, okay,
regardless of, we don't always know exactly where your property line is, right?
Yes.
But from the sidewalk. But I think if it's inside the hedges, then that's good.
yeah, the hedges are pretty wide, and then I think they're gonna be about a foot in from the hedges since they're, flush.
Mhm. And just, so I'm sure that the whole fence is 42 inches high?
Yes.
The whole, all that you're putting in?
Yes.
Okay. I have just a question for staff. I guess I didn't look through the list, but as far as notification of neighbors, that's only Granby resident neighbors that get notified. I don't think is that right? As far as, who has to be notified?
Technically, yes, it's just Grandview Heights.
Right.
We have done some as a courtesy.
I'm mostly just asking out of curiosity. I think that this is the first one I can remember where we have a fence right up against the walls.
Oh, right.
So it's just,
And I did talk to them too, and actually the lady across the street, just because they'll be, it's butting up to their property, and then obviously the lady across the street, she's a friend of mine, but I was just letting her know too, since that they're right here. It's not on there, but I did talk to them.
I think that's all.
I don't have any issues as it's being proposed, but now that you clarified that the 2 gates are on both sides of the garage, if you considered putting a 3rd gate facing south, that way if anything goes out of your yard, you don't have to go out
All the way
house.
around. Yeah, we have thought about that. I guess I didn't do it since that would be facing the sidewalk, and I would probably keep it locked anyways right there, since it's so close to a walkway, so that's why I chose not to do one up there. But the whole porch, won't be enclosed, so you could just go through the front door and out down the stairs and grab whatever you had. But yes, I understand. Yes, that probably would be a good idea. I guess I just chose not to because of how much traffic, people walking back and forth right in front of
And think
our.
about kids where all
Yes.
goes over, kids gonna climb the fence,
Yes.
and then you could be a potential safety hazard, but there's no requirement to
Okay.
have that gate there. I was just
Okay.
wondering.
if we do, for some reason, add a gate, what would we have to do to go back through?
No, it would just be
You would have to
permit.
Okay.
Yeah. As long as the gate's the same height as the.
But yeah, black hardware, same height.
That was all.
Okay.
Great. Stop.
Normally, we would address sideline issues, there really aren't any because of the location. I think it looks sharp. I don't have any questions.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think there's a 6-foot fence, there might be additional concerns with how close to the sidewalk and how close to your neighbors, but I think 42 inch. I don't think I have any objections. We have a motion.
A motion to approve BZA case 17, 2021, 1502 West Third Avenue. Section A, applicant seeking approval for Grandview Heights Planning and Zoning Code, section 1155.15D for a fence and side yard adjacent to a street alley on a corner lot.
I'll second.
All in favor say aye, those not in favor say nay.
Is that how it is?
Aye.
Approved.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
All right, on to case number 2, BZA case 18-2021, 1132 Grandview Avenue. Applicant Sue Morris and William Reisenberger. Owner Susan Morris and William Reisenberger. Riesenberger, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
The applicant is requesting a variance from Grandview Heights Planning and Zoning Code, section 1155.15, to allow a fence in the front yard.
Thank you. Just to lay it out, I think you can see the packet is the, okay. Well, okay, first this is a pre-existing, there's a pre-existing fence here that runs along the back of our house, on the south side, on the east side of the house, and then all along the south side to the sidewalk. At the house line, it goes from 4 feet to about 3 feet, and then runs down. This was approved in 1993.
Through the BZA board.
Zoning appeals. We're seeking to replace it with a black aluminum fence. We think it's less intrusive and more aesthetically pleasing. And so we submitted a request for this fence to be constructed. We were told that the part from the house to the street would require a variance because it goes into the front yard. Our neighbor's front yard is adjacent to it. We do have here a letter from our neighbors that said they would be approved replacing it with an updated aluminum fence. We feel it will enhance the aesthetic appeal of both yards and be a great improvement to the current fence.
I think we're also wondering, since we did have BZA approval in '93, we're wondering why we have to do this again.
We were told that was because we were changing the type of fence.
No.
If we were just replacing the fence that we had or repairing the fence that we had, we'd be fine. So
Actually-
we're trying to improve it.
Actually, we were told, he said there's some
Am I
question
correct
about
in
the,
that?
said there was some question about the BZA approval itself. If
The
we
code
need to
changed
have-
in 1998, 93 section, code section again was different. So if you were just replacing boards on that, the
wood fence that was approved. Again, I think we said that it's not an issue. But since you're going to take out the original fence and put in a new one iron fence, this board can look at the front yard location. And that's really what
Okay.
I think we submitted pictures, the type of fence that you're looking to put in, and a current fence and how it sits in the yard.
The portion of the fence that's in question is about 31 feet approximately. It's 3 feet high, which was the discussion at the original BZA meeting regarding the fence. And they said as long as we kept the part that was from the hedge line to the house line, kept it at a low level. And then we could, then it's going to be 4 foot after that point, all the way back to the back of our property.
And then run along the back side of the property to meet up with an existing metal fence that we have there. Aluminum. And we'll match it.
The existing wood fence, pickets need to be replaced, stringers need to be replaced.
Or we've got one
Posts.
section's being held up by bungee cords at the moment.
cords. And we just really felt that the vinyl, or the aluminum fence just looks so much nicer, and why not just go ahead and replace it? It'll be less obtrusive. I think there's pictures of what the yard looks like now from the street. That's what we're going with.
That's the type of fence, yes.
Okay, ask for a staff report.
Certainly. Obviously the applicant had, and Dr. Boucher both referenced the prior approval, so there's some determination previously with regard to the appropriateness of the fence. And I think arises really because a lot is a little bit unusual in the sense that because of the location of the home and the lot and the garage that's there, this area of the yard almost functions like a rear yard, side yard, and so you've got that kind of condition adjacent to a front yard, and neighboring property, similar to last case. And so from that perspective, I think it's, sets up the approval with that kind of framework around it. And then just looking at the fence regulations, I think that materially, the guidelines are perhaps becoming somewhat out of date in the sense that there have been a number of black picket fences installed in town recently, over the past decade or so they're becoming more common in the area, and I think generally looked upon favorably. And the guidelines also reference, if not wood, then materials and designs that blend with and are sympathetic to the house, which in this case, we have a pretty formal garden, you've got a very beautiful yard, and so it seems appropriate to the style. With regard to the height and location, we talked about the relative kind of uniqueness of the yard for their property and adjacent to the front yard. Obviously, if the next door neighbor doesn't have an issue with it, that's also worth considering. 36-inch high is pretty nominal, and it's a planting bed, so it doesn't seem like it will be obtrusive. The only thing that I was going to suggest is that the fence right now, and I didn't walk up to it, I admit, but it looks like it comes really right out to the sidewalk. And you might give some consideration to setting it back a foot from the sidewalk or something, just to provide a little bit more room for bikers' elbows and things, and also have a substantial post at the end, which it has now, again, so that you're just not, it's just a little bit of a safety factor if someone were to run into that fence, it would be a little bit sturdier as well as not pointy.
Right. Well, and the post would be much smaller with the aluminum fence.
And just for clarification, typically the property line starts 1 foot inside towards the house, their actual property line. So we would have to have it a foot in from the sidewalk anyway. When we go out, it's approved.
I don't think that would be an issue because our hedges that are there are at least probably 2 feet wide anyways, and they start at the sidewalk.
It's really not an issue about your hedges, it's
Well,
your property
No,
starts.
we were
No,
saying
I'm
it
just
wouldn't be,
saying-
it wouldn't be an issue with the fence because we got
We
a
can
2
bring
foot
the
wide fence to the hedge that they won't really inherit by coming up short, yeah.
Sure.
So you're saying where you would naturally put it is probably about 2 feet from
Yes.
sidewalk.
Okay.
About a foot maybe.
Well, at least a foot, if not 2.
I appreciate the precision.
I'm sure will.
While we're still on staff report, Charlie, can you tell us the history of, you referenced it before, like the code change? Like, what was that? code change?
98, we had our fence code changed in 1998. This was, their prior approval was 1993.
Do you know how previous to that it dealt with front yard fences?
I think we have a copy of what's in there, and essentially, they treated it as a side yard. I'm sorry. First, let's step to the house today. The front yard starts at the face of the house, on both houses. So both of the houses, your side yard doesn't start until you get to the house. So this fence is truly front yard to front yard. And that's not, was not identified in the 93. So that's why we're in front of the board. Currently, the code says no fence shall be erected in the front yard. So since we're tearing it out, it should come before this board. I know they had an approval, but I think they based it on the fact that the neighbors was the side yard, or that was their side yard or rear yard. But in technicality, the front door for them is, on Grand Street. And the same with the neighbors. So, when you do the interpretation of what is the code, the front yard goes all the way to the face of the house. So in this case, it's not a side yard or side yard situation. It's a front yard to front yard.
But the previous way the code looked at that is it would have called it a side yard?
Judging from what we have in the file, it seems like we called it a side yard or rear yard.
Right, okay.
Yeah. And I don't know if that was a mistake or not, I can't tell you that. But since they're taking the fence out, like I said, if they just replace boards, we wouldn't be here. But since they're taking it out and putting in the new, which is better, if you will, because we like the black wire seal fence, so.
Okay.
Okay?
I'll ask Ken if there's anybody here who's here to comment on this case, or if we've had any submitted comments.
No public comment?
Then I will close public comment, and everybody who wants to go first. Andy, can I put you on the spot?
Sure. My one question, if you had your dream, would you have the fence be 4 feet the entire way, or?
No, I'm perfectly happy with it being
We're
the
happy
way it
with
is.
going to 3 feet there, because then it matches up. We keep the hedge stand low for that. And
That was one thing that kind of struck me, that it looks like based on old code, that's kind of why you were following this step pattern.
Well, we did, but
Well, I
we
can speak
did,
to that better than I can.
yeah, but, we had no problem keeping it because the hedge is lower, so it makes more sense to start it being a little low, and 3 feet is good enough to keep grandkids in, which is number 1, keeping grand dogs in, that's number 2, so those are our objectives.
Thank you.
Rick?
I walk by this place all the time. You live right there. Pretty familiar with this. Seems like an upgrade to me. I mean, I think maybe just for the record, I mean, when the code is examined, I mean, increasingly it's issues with corner lots and in the side yard and the front yard and then the lack of a backyard. So, until the code gets updated, stuff like this is going to keep coming on. I don't have any questions.
Sure. I do have, I guess, one question back to staff, is that, what is it we're approving today? Like, what portion of the fence?
The variance is for the section of the fence in the front yard.
Okay.
About 31
It's like,
feet.
it's
Yeah.
called the yellow in the picture, I think.
Just the, okay. Ah. That
We try to help.
that is helpful. I just missed it. Okay, yeah, the yellow portion is what we're talking about today. All right, that helps. Yeah, I guess I don't think I have really any questions. I think this is, I feel like some of this is kind of a housekeeping issue, but after getting explanation of before, and that really, it sounds like because of the way the code was written before, you don't have a variance for a fence between two front yards. But it's just kind of a definitions and language, and now we've switched, and now you need a variance for a fence between two front yards. And we're talking about replacing what's there, the same height, it's an upgrade visually, so I have no problem.
I agree. I supported this.
I agree as well. I have no other questions. Do we want to, I guess, a question for the board, do we want to request that it be a minimum of 1 foot off the sidewalk?
Well, I feel like
Further.
is what Director Shane said, is that that's where the property line starts anyways, and if they get a permit, there will be an inspection, and that inspection will make sure that that's when.
But technically, there should be pins out there to verify.
We're saying 1 foot in from the sidewalk?
Yeah.
Just want to be clear on that.
Again, if there's pins out there, we would verify that.
Right.
If we didn't have that, you know, the majority, if not, I can't give you the percentage. The property line starts inside of the sidewalk from the right of way. So we feel comfortable, we can get close to that.
Right. Sure, we might as well add that, the applicant has no objection to that 1 foot, so that's a good point. Sounds like you're volunteering to make a motion.
Sure. I make a motion to approve BZA's case 18/2021. The applicant is requesting a variance for section 1155.5B to allow for the construction of a fence in the front yard, with the stipulation that the start of the fence should start at least 1 foot away from the property line,
Away from the sidewalk.
away from the sidewalk.
I'll second.
Zidowski,
Yes.
Calhoun,
Yes.
Stein,
Yes.
Kinzinger,
Yes.
Glassman. Yes. Approved.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any other business, sir? Okay. Staff communications.
None today.
All right. Meeting adjourned.